Here we are. Live action, the first ever live version of our Fish Life Bass Fishing Podcast. We've got quite the storytelling time for you tonight. Hey, there was some great tournament action on the smallmouth waters. Suckers were out there fishing in 87-foot waves, I think it was.
Dudes whacked them.
I mean, they caught them up. Great Bassmaster tournament. We get to talk about the next super tournament, the MLFLW, whatever it's called.
The Alphabet Series.
A whole bunch of boats on not a lot of water going to La Crosse, Wisconsin. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to cover this guy. My boy actually finally won one.
It's because you were talking trash to me
I
last
know.
week.
I made fun of how many second places he gets, and now he finally wins the tournament. So we're going to cover that as well. Now, before we get into all this, did you get a trophy?
No.
Okay, I'll get you some belt buckles like we
Yes.
talked about last week.
Yes.
If you guys saw the thumbnail, we didn't have anything, so we gave him old Lone Star beer sign that was on my shelf over here to hold up. I really wish I'd have thought about it. I went and grabbed one of my old belt buckles from my younger years and let him hold that up.
That'd have been great.
We're going to have to get bass fishing trophy belt buckles for the only one win you've ever had.
You know what? Bassmaster, or Bassmaster BPT, if you're listening, you just had $1 million idea. You can steal it.
Belt buckles, that's it.
Belt buckles is the deal.
So, we're doing the podcast live. First time we've ever done this adventure live. A little bit of a rodeo. We'll try to answer some comments. Also, we're going to do these live from now on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. But we're almost at that break time. We take a little break in the early part of August. So, we're kind of trial running this live deal, see how it goes. Hopefully, it's all going to go well. I kind of like the idea. So, I'm pretty sure what we're going to do is start doing this podcast live on Tuesdays. When we come back 3 weeks from today, there'll be another live podcast. Now, that being said, while we're doing this live podcast, we've always wanted to have more viewer, we always have more interaction with you guys during the podcast that we haven't really been able to do because we weren't doing them live. Tonight we are. So we've got a phone number, 903-519-1542. You can text that phone number, call that phone number, and actually be a part of the live show tonight. So if you see Chris running back and forth across here, it's for him to get people loaded up on the phones, ready to go. You might want to hold on to that. Don't know how many phone calls we're going to get. But yeah, if you guys want to call in 903-519-1542 to be a part of this show.
Comment questions, text questions, whatever you want to do.
Also questions, you can comment questions on here and we'll be happy to answer them because now we can interact with you guys through the comments as well, which is awesome. I know we're going to say a few hellos right here to get it started. I don't want to clog up too much of the show. Just know, I wish I could say hello to every one of you that joins in. But we'll do what we can. Kevin Jones is in the house. Ray Lowe's in the house. Dylan Watts, Barrett Benefield, Lane Bosley, C. Bach, Ken Simpson, Mel Moyle. Hey, thank every one of you guys and so many more. Do me a favor, hit those thumbs up. Keep making those comments. And let's get a bunch of folks in here talking fishing with us because that's what we love to do. Andrea, Lorraine, and Big C. Calvin, what's going on, big dog? All right, so we've kind of covered all the topics we're going to get into. The other thing that we're going to do that we always do is kind of give the live fishing report, so to speak.
I know the first thing. It's hot.
It is hot. Not as hot.
No, we had a cold front come through.
Yeah, it's like 95.
It's only 95, yeah. It's only 95 today.
So, where did you guys fish that tournament at?
On Lake Tyler.
On Lake Tyler. Give me a report on Lake Tyler. What went down there? How we catch them?
So, I witnessed one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Oh boy, here we go.
So,
strap in, folks.
Yeah. So, started fishing in an area that I've caught fish before. Didn't really pan out. We caught one there, put it in a box. Went to this other little bitty cove. It's about half the size of the cove MDJ caught him out of at Fork.
Oh, little bitty cove.
Little bitty cove. So we made a circle around it. My boy, Killer Cam, for those of y'all who don't know, is my fishing partner.
Killer Cam. By the way, we're sitting a little far away from the phone that we're live streaming on. If there's audio issues of any kind, please let us know in the comments.
So Cameron flips up, catches a 5-pounder in this pocket as we're leaving the pocket.
I got you.
And so he says, hey, let's make another pass. We made another pass. I made the exact same cast he made.
Caught another one?
Caught another big one.
Okay.
Like, if there was a casting ring.
Spot within a spot within a spot.
Right. Shallow, though.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
Okay.
And so we ended up having 11-16 on 3. And that's what it
was. It a 3-fish stringer?
3-fish stringer.
3-fish stringer tournament, okay. Hey, 11-16 on 3 is not a bad stringer of fish on 3.
Not bad.
Now, how'd y'all catch your fish that you caught?
I caught mine.
What was your most productive pattern that day?
Split shot rig.
Split shot with what plastic?
Cinco.
Split shot in the old Cinco.
Always a Cinco.
Yeah, always a Stinko.
That's about the bite gettingest bait I've ever seen in my life.
I know what you really mean is a clout stick bait by 6 Sense Fishing, not Cinco, but a 5-inch stick bait nonetheless.
Yes.
Okay, he was actually those plastics on a little finesse Carolina rigs out there. That's
Yes.
set shot rig. Around grass docks, how we do
Grass. Grass.
like shoreline flooded grass, because the Tyler doesn't have like a whole bunch of
It's not like
coontail.
it's not coontail. It's not hydrilla. It's a grass. I call it stick grass.
Just that little thin leafed,
Yes.
it's all stem pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
It
there's-
holds fish. I mean,
it will when there's nothing else.
Right.
Now, if there's hydrilla and coontail, it tends to not.
right.
Yeah.
And the pocket itself, where we spent most of our day, it had some lily pads in the middle, just kind of out by themselves. We fished around them. Never really got bit.
It's all that grass.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Little grass line.
So
Real
little
shallow.
finesse plastic fishing around some shallow grass, not bad. And I'm gonna tell you that kind of correlates to what I found over the last week or so. Is that, man, you know, just a little bit of cool down. You know, we kind of talked about last time we were on here about how the fish had transitioned away from that shallow water and really drove deep because we had a bunch of 100-degree days, over 100-degree days. The water temps finally climbed enough to really grip those fish up offshore, lined up perfectly with that mega bass tournament on Fork, and they whacked them out deep. But then we kind of had some rain, which the rain will cool the water temps off quick, and it did. And then we've had, you know, not just cooler weather, but cooler than what we were having weather. So it has slowed down the rise of the water temp after the rains.
Correct.
And now we've got some more rain today. We've got, you know, so the water temps have kind of stayed down, and that has really taken those fish, flipped them, and pushed a lot more of them back into the shallow water. So that same shallow water bite we had going before the mega bass week is kind of recharged, and you can get around that shallow grass and catch them on a chatterbait or weightless plastics. That's our main two tools. A little bit of a hollow belly weedless swim bait bite up there, but the deep bite's still there as well.
Right.
You know, and what I have found is that now that we've kind of spread the fish back out again, it's like some of the dragon baits are doing better this week. The Carolina rigs, the shaky heads, especially the finesse shaky head. If you got a non-windy day or non-windy moment in the day and you can throw that finesse shaky head, that seems to kind of be the best bait to throw right now.
Let me ask you
It
this.
is for me.
Have you used the ridge worm yet? Is it awesome? Yeah. I've been really wanting to throw.
Yeah, I've been using the ridge worm since April.
Have you?
Yeah, it's really good. It's a really good worm. It's a brand new bait by 6 Sense Fishing. It's a really good product, man. I want to take a moment here, see if we can, audio is a little low, but I can hear y'all fine with my volume turned all the way up. Okay, cool. We'll make sure we'll try to talk a little more.
A little closer.
We'll lean a little closer. We'll talk. If we're leaning back, we just need to talk a little bit more firm. Get some bass in your voice, son.
Say it with your chest.
East or West Tyler producing better on Lake Tyler?
We fished the old lake. We're on the west side all day.
I don't know which one's the old lake. The west one?
Old lake's west.
West one. Okay.
So I will say though, a partner of mine was fishing the east side all day, and if he hadn't had a fish die, he would have had a very similar bag to us. So it was
Would have been close.
Yeah, it'd have been close.
Gotcha. What is the strongest knot for braid? I tie a polymer knot. I tie polymer knot.
I top polymers.
Yeah, yeah. I use different knots on fluorocarbon and mono, but polymer's what I use on braid 100% of the time. Arizona Bass Angler says, shout out, give me a shout out, man. Shout out to Arizona Bass Angler. Said he's about to hit the lake, and he's got a frog tat on. He sounds like a guy I could get along with.
Do you
honestly.
think he's from Arizona?
He might be from Arizona, but if he's going out with just a frog tat on, like that's my guy. I can hang with him.
Oh, yeah.
We can roll together, man. We can chill. All right, just a couple questions. Hey, as we continue, man, y'all continue to answer. Well, you can answer the questions too. That's fine. Y'all continue to ask questions, and we will be happy to answer as many of them as we can. Now, we do want to get into some of our topics tonight, man. The Bassmaster smallmouth extravaganza on the St. Lawrence River. Credit where credit's due.
Twice.
Hey, you nailed it. You picked the winner.
I called the over.
Now, to be fair to me, I'll let you pick your three
Correct.
picks first, and I would have 100% had Chris Johnson as my first pick as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think the entire world had him as their first pick in that event on that lake, but Chris Johnson pulled out the W. I didn't see the Paul Mueller deal coming.
Did you see that smallmouth that he caught that was almost 8 pounds?
Yes.
God.
Can you imagine
No.
surfing 5-foot waves or whatever they were, and having like drop shot 6-8 pound test, 10 pound test, whatever, and having an 8-pound smallmouth on?
So I was
Bro,
watching
I think it was like 780 something.
I was watching Chris Johnston. He was boating like a 4-pounder, 5-pounder, something like that, and he was in those 5-foot rollers. And when he got it close enough to the boat where he could reach down and grab it, his boat came down, and it looked like it came down on top of the fish. And I was like, ugh.
Guys, let me tell you something. I don't know how many of you guys out there have fished sincerely, like truly big water like that.
Yeah.
But doing it on light gear and doing it on like a sensitive thing like a drop shot or something, y'all know how difficult it is to keep that rod steady as those waves are moving you 3, 4, 5 feet at a time.
The level of concentration.
And then to feel that bite and to be able to fight those fish and not ever lose traction of them on a spinning pole in all those waves. Hey, them boys are on a whole different level. I know that sometimes watching a dude stare at his graph and just pull up on his rod and letting the smallmouth strip drag for 10 minutes, not always the most exciting thing to watch fishing wise. But if you understand the difficulty that goes into it, boys, that is some of the finest exhibition of fishing skill you'll ever see. It was really good.
It's hard enough to do without the wind.
Mm-hmm.
And then you factor in the wind, it makes it 10 times worse.
It's always hard for me to land big fish on a spinning pole. I don't really know why, but it is.
It's tough. And they almost caught 100 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they caught, which we kind of knew that was coming on that place up there. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
6 cents sold out of the ridge worms and the vine shaky heads thanks to you. Maybe thanks to us. Either way, that probably just because they make such awesome products.
hey, I tried to make an order today, and they're out of a lot of stuff, but I assure you.
That's a good thing that they're out of that. That's good that they're selling all that. Barrett Benefield asked, did that spot keep producing on Welsh? So the Monday video last week, me and Barrett was the young man that I had on with me on Welsh where we really whacked him that afternoon late.
Stick.
Yeah, that young man can catch him up. Now, Barrett, I don't know. I haven't been back since that day. So if I'm being honest with you, I haven't been back to Welsh since that day that we filmed it. So. The Perch Jerker says, yo, what's good, my cuz? What's up, brother? But yeah, that Bassmaster tournament was awesome, man. The Paul Mueller deal, you know, felt a little bad for him. He led it for 3 days. Such tough fishing conditions on that big water like we talked about. And everybody knew Chris Johnson was going to make his pass at him.
Well, the only thing I was skeptical about was the fact they couldn't go into Canadian waters. And if they could have gone into Canadian waters, he would have walked it. It wouldn't even have been.
Man, I don't know how you catch smallmouth much better. I mean, he weighed 27 pounds of smallmouth. You're not going to get a much bigger bag of smallmouth than
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying the consistency of Chris Johnson with a kicker here or there each day.
Yeah, I mean, I think it went about as well. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and in theory that sounds right, but I don't know that it could have went much better than how it went.
But and for all I know, I mean, it's fishing. So
yeah,
you don't
absolutely.
really know.
You don't
There's
really
a lot of unknown variables. So
That's right.
You're right. But yeah, no, as far as the card he was dealt, he executed as well as he could have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that tournament could have went any better no matter how many lakes they opened up.
10th
I mean,
place was 30 pounds behind him. Stop it. Stop it.
it's a little bit of a gap, bro.
Two guys were just like,
Yeah.
hey, y'all have fun down there.
Hold my beer.
Catching perch. watch
Hold
it.
my beer, watch this.
Golly.
They got after him, man. It was a good event for sure. I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I'm not a guy that enjoys watching people catch fish on a drop shot a whole lot, but the strategery and what went on there, I was really impressed with, and it made it entertaining. And now we've got another tournament coming up that I'm really looking forward to because talking about tying a frog on these boys from the MLFLW, one of the super tournaments where they've got like 200 boats or whatever stupid number of boats they have.
200.
They're going to La Crosse, Wisconsin, and fishing up on the upper end of that Mississippi
The
River.
upper Mississippi.
And they gonna go there, and I think there's gonna be some boys throwing a frog.
I think there might be 2.
Yeah,
Or 20,
1 or 10,
or 50.
1 or 10 or 200 or whatever.
I tell you what, if you don't have one tied on and you're fishing that super tournament, I think you're at a slight disadvantage.
You know, the thing is, every time they go to La Crosse, Wisconsin, they always do it this time of year. They always do it when the grass is matted up. And I always look forward to it because, man, are the fish the biggest? No. But who doesn't, you know, talk about how we like watching people pull on a drop shot and reel them in. That's not that fun to watch most of the time. You know what is a lot of fun? Watching fish blow up on a frog. And you're going to get to see a lot of footage of a lot of blow-ups and a lot of really fun fish catches.
Even if you're not the one seeing it blow up on your line, if that doesn't get your adrenaline racing, you don't need to fish.
Now, that being said, the last couple times they've had an event up there, it wasn't one frog fishing.
Right.
You remember that?
That was...
There was some river current. In fact, there's been a few times they've gone up there where it wasn't one on frog fishing. There was one where they won it fishing river current, and then there was an MLF, like Summit Cup event that Greg Hackney ended up winning, where he was fishing a current break outside of some grass in like 10, 12, 15 foot of water.
Yeah.
It's like the deepest water and all of that stuff up there, and he found a wad of them, and it was out there cranking like mid-depth crankbaits, and caught him doing that. So, are we going to see a lot of frogfish catches? Absolutely. Is that going to be the only way they get caught, or will that be the winning technique? I don't know. It's kind of proven to not be.
Yeah.
And when you get that many guys and they're all trying to throw frogs, it may kind of monkey that deal up.
Yeah, it may not be what wins the event, but I think it's going to be a factor for sure.
Yeah, it's always a factor up there, man. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Man, and I can honestly up there, it's so wild. Like, I don't know who's going to win it. Like, if we got to make picks for that, and there's so many guys on the FLW Tour that I just don't even know, to be quite honest with you, anymore. I mean, do you have any idea who? I mean, have you thought about who you think was going to win that event?
I honestly haven't. I'm like you. I was just thinking about the frog fishing.
I mean, you just got to go with like overall. Like Jacob Wheeler's going to be a threat because he can do it all.
God, I would hate to FLW series having to fish against Jacob Wheeler.
And Hackney won that. Like I said, he won that MLF Cup up there, or whatever he won, and that MLF event he won.
I'm just saying that caliber of fisherman.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah, you're on the
trying to get to.
Yeah, and then those guys drop down. No, yeah, that's been a big topic of conversation.
Across the industry.
Really. Absolutely, absolutely, guys. Hey, if y'all want to be a part of the show, man, call in, call on in, and we will be happy to talk to you. The number is 903-519-1542, or text us, or just drop your questions right here.
The Big Bass Hotline.
The Big Bet. Are we sipping on anything? Yeah, man.
Sweet tea, baby.
He's got sweet tea. I don't. This is not sweet tea. This is brown water, as we call it around here.
The sweeter tea.
Yeah. A little more kick to it, you might say.
Got a few extra leaks in it.
Besides a Spro popping frog, is there any frog comparable to the 6-cent frog like the Mega Bass frog? You know, so other than that 6-cent frog, whenever it's finally released to the public, I really had gotten over the last year or two where I just was only throwing that Spro popping frog. It did everything I need a frog to do. I didn't see a reason to try and find another frog because I could make that frog do anything I wanted it to do, action-wise. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One thing I've heard about that. One thing I've heard about the 6-cent frog. I haven't thrown it yet, obviously, but I've heard that you can also get that thing to walk as it's sitting still, kind of.
Yeah, it's got a little weight on the bottom of it. It really well.
To where you can kind of sit there and like.
As far as a walking frog goes, it's the best walking frog I've ever thrown. That 6-cent one. But
if you got a big hole in a mat where you kind of want to pause it in there a little bit, you can still make it twitch.
Move without moving forward. Yeah, it does. It's got a little weight back there between where the hook splits, and it almost pivots on that weight, man. It's unbelievable how it walks.
It's big time.
Yeah, but no, I mean, outside of that, I mean, the Spro popping frog to me always kind of did what I needed, so I really didn't use any other frogs. If I wanted it to come straight forward and be subtle, I could. If I wanted it to come straight forward and splash, I could. If I wanted it to walk, I could. If I wanted to make it do crazy, erratic action, I could. I just didn't see a reason to buy another frog.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And now that I got the 6-cent frog, I've got one that has a better hookup ratio with longer hook shanks. It walks even better.
Do you have to adjust the hooks like you do at Spro popping?
Bend them out. Bend them out. When I say out, I don't mean up. I mean, you know, if you got a frog sitting like this and the hook bends this way, you don't want to bend it up this way and spring the hook. You want to bend it away from the body like this.
Right.
Just a little bit, just a touch. Just enough to where when you run like if this is the side of the frog body, when you run your finger, you want your finger to kind of catch on the hook a little bit. That's all you want.
Because I think that's a lot of people make that mistake. Well, I did it first. I was raising it up instead of out. The up, I mean, I guess it'll help, but it'll also make them shake that bait a little bit easier.
So, let's for a minute, let's tell a little story about a man named Chris Blackman.
Hey.
And a man named Cameron Hitt. Big Cam.
Killer Cam, baby.
Killer Cam, whatever. So, tell me about y'all's tournament experience this year, because you guys have been the grand champion losers up until now.
It's crazy. Where do I start? Okay, January. Most of these bass clubs, tournament trails, they start in January.
Yeah.
So we were pre-fishing for Holbrook. That was our first tournament. It was supposed to be on Welsh. Water was too low. You couldn't safely launch a boat without jacking up your stuff, so moved it to Holbrook. We fished a jackpot the weekend before. Just, hey, it was there, so we were like, hey, we're pre-fishing anyways, might as well do it. We got second. Right.
Yeah.
First, second place.
Strap in, folks. You're going to hear this more than once.
So, then we fished the actual tournament with our club. We got 5th or 6th. 5th. So, we sucked.
You went the other way.
Right.
You're supposed to go up. You went down.
Then the next tournament, Martin Creek. Didn't pre-fish. Got second.
We got 2. For those counting at home, where
Yeah.
to?
Then went to my home lake, Palestine. Didn't weigh in a fish day one.
2-day event on Lake Palestine.
2-day event, didn't weigh in a fish day one, got fifth on the second day. Alright. Then we were supposed to fish Athens. We had some crazy weather come through. We decided not to fish. The weather ended up holding out. They had the tournament, whatever. We missed that one. Then we went to Tawakoni. Didn't pre-fish. Got second.
Got second at Tawakoni. How many are we on now?
That's 3.
We're on 3 second places. What? Then you go to Winsboro.
Then we go to Winsboro.
What place did you get?
Second.
You got second. They're the Grand Show, the best losers out there. But I can't say that anymore now. Because you finally showed up on Lake Tyler.
Then we went to Lake Tyler last weekend, fished jackpot, ended up winning it.
Not in your club tournament,
Not in our
but,
club
but your
tournament.
first W of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And like the biggest tournament one you've ever had in your life, probably.
Not quite, but
I
close.
mean, pretty much.
Pretty close.
Pretty much.
Pretty close.
This guy has the dangest time winning. I give him hell. He's my boy. I love him. But
Then we got Levon next weekend. Once again.
Yeah.
Didn't pre-fish.
didn't pre-finish.
I mean, you know.
It seems to be a pattern with y'all. If y'all just show up and show out, it kind of works out where you get second. I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction. Y'all are going to get second.
I got to take this call.
Take the call. We got a caller coming. That's what I'm talking about. So if you guys have friends like I have friends, that's exactly how it goes. The better friends you are, the harder time you give them. And, man, I love old Chris, and he is a pretty good fisherman, but he has had hell over the years getting a W while he's fishing these tournaments. We get a question, how is night fishing on Fork? Man, I'm the worst guy to ask about that. I just know what I've been told. I never fish at night. I got these 2 young boys at home, and so I never really go night fishing anymore. I used to, but I don't really anymore. But I've heard the night fishing has been pretty darn solid for quite a while now. Not if you were calling in.
And
Okay.
I'm back. And I'm back.
He's back. But yeah, the night fishing, I don't really know, but it's, I think it kind of, along with the cool down, got a little less consistent than what it was from what I've kind of been gathering.
Black spinnerbait, big thumper blade, big shaky.
Man, you just telling the
board.
same stuff I told you like 5 years ago.
That's what I do when I night fish. I was night fishing the other day.
That's what we all do when we night fish, I think.
Mm-hmm. Dock lights. Get on the outside perimeter of the dock lights,
Yeah.
not actually in the light.
He took that out of my book, pretty sure.
I'm gonna take some more stuff out of your boat.
Yeah, not my boat. Don't be getting in my boat. Those fighting words.
Boat, not book.
So how did it feel to finally get the W, man? I guess that's what I want to know.
Got the monkey off my back, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you feel like a little bit of a sense of relief?
well, because it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, dragging money's cool. Like, I'm good with
It ain't
that.
got nothing to do with the money.
Right.
For me, it never
No. Yeah,
had
the
anything to do with
money's,
the money.
the money's not, I mean, that's cool, you're relevant. all
But
that
if I
good
sign
stuff.
up for a derby, I want to win.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
I really, really, really
Yeah.
want to win.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. And so, finally I don't know. Yes, it felt a lot better. So now,
You know, we're trying to make a show here. You're not doing enough elaborating. We've basically gone through all of our content and we're 20 minutes in.
I'd like to thank God and everybody involved for making this happen. I'd like to take a minute to talk about myself.
Don't really know what to do with my hands. The boat ran real good.
Oh, man.
My Quantum Shimano Dobbins combos.
So I will tell you one thing. Our goal this year was to win LY.
Y'all ought to do that with all them second places.
We're leading it so far, but we can't take our foot off the gas.
Yeah. Y'all got somebody pretty close behind you?
We're leading by 6 points.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
It's close.
That's pretty close.
So
We'll
we've
finish it
got
off. How many more tournaments do you have in the club deal?
We've got Levon next week and then Gilmer in September.
We don't say the G word on the show.
Oh.
If you ever say it again, you're 100% fired.
I will never say Levon again.
Yeah, or the one after. So you got Levon, so you got 2 events. You got
Yep.
Levon and Top Secret Lake, which is Cameron's home lake.
Correct. He's been fishing his whole life.
So y'all got a little home cooking there,
Well, it's in September.
which sometimes
It
can
can be a little bit tough. Well, I mean, we proved this year it can be real tough.
it can
Yeah, with me on
September.
Palestine,
Yeah.
yeah.
September can be it. Yeah, and meet on your home lake. Yeah, absolutely.
And then our classic is on Lake of the Pines, 2-day event in October.
What's your recommendations, advice, thoughts for guys who are looking to start guiding? Man, that's not the first time I've been asked this question, and I think my answer's kind of changed a little bit over the years the further I've gotten into it. But the one constant that I've always held in my answer to this question is, if you want to start guiding, you better be 1,000, 1,000,000% beyond all doubt sure that you truly love bass fishing and don't just really, 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 really like it. Because it's going to take what you really, really like and make you not like it at all. And it has nothing to do, everybody thinks, well, yeah, it's because you got customers that are bad. It's not. That's not it. That is another prerequisite. You have to be able to get along with just about anybody that you come into contact with. You got to be able to hold a conversation and be tolerable of anybody. But the day in, once it becomes how you feed your family, once it's no longer, if I don't catch them, I'm going to be frustrated. But at the end of the day, my life's not going to change.
Right.
I'm not going to have money problems. My wife's not going to be mad at me. My kids aren't going to go without. Once that goes away and now all those factors come into play, it sounds crazy to think that it's a super mentally stressful job. You get to go fishing, take people fishing every day. But folks, I'm here to tell you, fishing is, we all know, is one of the most difficult things. Some of the best in the world struggle all the time, like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, really difficult to stay consistent throughout the year. And when you're not catching them and you feel like you're losing customers, or you're not getting tips and customers aren't coming back, and now you're not booking as many trips, and when you go through those days where you don't catch them, it is so stressful. And it just wears you down. It's one of the most difficult things. I mean, listen, I've done some different things in my life that people would probably consider pretty challenging. I played college athletics. I was in the Marine Corps. I was combat deployed to Iraq back in 2006. It's not that level, but it's up there in some of the more stressful things I've ever done. Just the day in, day out grind of being on the water 6 days a week, 5 days a week, 7 days a week at times, for for most of the year. If you're successful, if you're lucky, you will be. And then having to have that mental grind of, man, I've got to produce fish today. Mm-hmm. No matter what. No excuses. Yeah. Cold front, bad conditions, heat, mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion, dehydration. No matter what goes on, I've got to get fish in the boat. That deal can take something that you think you really love to make it something you can't stand to do. And now you're having to do all that and deal with all that stress, and you don't like doing it anymore. I see a lot of guys that guide for a living that are just miserable in life in general. They're not happy. They're not enjoying a good life. So the number one thing is you got to make sure that you're obsessed with it, because if that initial takeoff from the boat ramp in the morning and that sense of contentment and excitement and peace, inner peace, if that isn't greater than the stress that's involved, if your love for the sport, even when it sucks, isn't greater than the stress involved, it's gonna make you miserable. So the first thing you got to be able to do is make sure that mentally it is something that you're in love with on an obsessive level. Like I said, the other thing is you got to get along with everybody, because you're going to get all walks. I've been really fortunate now. Almost all of my guide customers come from YouTube content. They see the YouTube content. People that search bass fishing videos on YouTube usually can kind of bass fish. Mm-hmm. So I don't get a whole lot of I don't know how to throw a bait caster. I do a little bit. For the most part, I don't get a whole lot of I don't know how to throw a bait caster type of crowd, which is another thing when you start out that you will deal with in abundance. A lot of people, your first trips, a lot of them will be people that have no idea what they're doing, and you've got to find fish that somebody that has no clue what they're doing can catch. Mm-hmm. Or they're going to think you suck, and they're not coming back, and they're going to tell their buddies you suck. It's a tough gig, man. I'm telling y'all. That's one of the biggest challenges about guiding, is not like, man, I can go out there and fish, and I can find fish that I know how to catch.
Right. And
I've been fishing grass for 30-something years, or 30 years, or 25, or whatever it's been in my whole life. And so I know how to work a bait in and out of grass pretty efficiently at this point. But then I get somebody that's never been on a grass lake before, even if they know how to bass fish, and they can't get that chatterbait through that grass, so they're just pulling back a wad of grass every time, and they're not going to catch nothing. So now I can't use that pattern. I got to go get them on a finesse bite or a Carolina rig biter. I've got to do something different for that person, and you've got to be able to read that and be understanding of that and not get frustrated with your customers. There's a lot of challenges to it, but the other thing that may be more important than all of this is you got to put your time in. Like,
time on the water.
People think you can just show up and be a fishing guide because you won a couple local derbies. That ain't how it goes. I didn't even fish that many local tournaments. I think the only reason it's worked out for me is I had a very obsessive passion for trying to learn and understand why I did or didn't get bites on any given day. I consumed every piece of bass fishing content I could get my hands on. Back then it was mostly TV shows. But I spent a big majority of my life, even when I was a little kid, experimenting and really wanting to understand why I got that bite and how I could get that bite more consistently. And when it changes from this to that, how can I make that fish that bit this now bite some? What else is he going to bite next? Like, there is no shortcut to learning that. It's all time on the water. And if you don't have that time on the water, you are selling a bad product to a customer. If you go out and make yourself a fishing guide before you have put the time in, you're kind of robbing those people. You're deceiving them.
Yeah.
They think they're getting an expert, and you're not there yet. Like, I didn't even think that I was ready to be a guide when I started guiding part time. I had a buddy of mine ask me to run some overflow trips for him, and he kind of convinced me that I could do it a little bit. You know, I was kind of jokingly when I said something about I was about to buy a new boat, I'll just run your overflow, and I was just kind of joking, and he was like, oh yeah. I'm like, well, hold on, man, you think no, I don't think I'm ready. He goes, no, you're a good fisherman, you can do it, you got a good personality, blah blah blah. And so I kind of went into it softly, doing it part time on the weekends only, and it worked out where customers were happy. And one of my very first customers came back like 3 times that first year. And so having some repeat customers within the first year, and having one guy that came back several times that first year, kind of gave me the confidence to say, okay, I am doing a good job for these customers. I am good enough. I really didn't think I was good enough until I saw all that unfold the way it did. So, I mean, the biggest deal is you better really understand bass fishing. Like, you've got to be able to understand it so good that when they're not biting, you know why they're not biting. You can't have a whole lot of days where you look at your customers and go, I don't know. If you look at your customer and go, I don't know why they're not biting, that customer's gone. He's not coming back. And if you can't get repeat business, you're not going to last in this business. So you need to understand so well bass fishing that when they don't bite, you can tell them, hey guys, listen, I know it's tough today. This is what's going on. We're going to try this. We're going to try this. We're going to try this. We're going to keep working. We're going to try to get bites. But right now, it's just being a little challenging because of these conditions or whatever may have. And then the getting along with people, and of course the obsessive love level passion better be there. So other than that, as far as advice on how to do it, man, you don't need me to give you advice, because whatever business you want to break into these days, this is the best time there's ever been to be a human being. And it may not seem like it with everything that's gone on this year, but it is, and I'm going to tell you why. You can do anything you want to do. If there's something that you love doing, that you're passionate about doing, if you have a little bit of skill, if you're pretty good at it, you have a chance. Because you don't have to get anybody's invitation. You don't have to ask anybody permission. You don't need any open doors. The entire world is accessible to you through this device that we're talking to you on right now. And all you have to do is document what you do. So if you're talking about guiding, do what I did. Document a day on the water, 1 day a week, post that video. If you're good enough, they're going to call. I was very blessed and fortunate. I had a lot of things go my way when I started filming on a weekly basis. We caught a lot of big fish consistently. And within 6 months, I had as many guide trips as anybody on the lake. And I was told that by very experienced and guys that I really respect to this day, like I hold them in the highest regard. Some of those guys told me that I was making a huge mistake by filming myself on the water. People were going to break down the backgrounds and I was going to give away too much information. And I just felt the opposite, because I've seen other businesses succeed in today's day and time on social media, and all they do is document what they do and throw it out there for free, and it works out. And that's kind of was my whole philosophy, is I'm going to give away more information. I'm just going to do everything I know how to do as a fishing guide. I'm going to help everybody as much as I can on catching fish, and I'm going to put it out there for free, and that's going to cause people to see, hey, this guy is a guy that I want to fish with. As it turned out, I was the only guy on the hill out there in Lake Fork. I was being told I was wrong by everybody, and I was the only guy going, all of y'all are wrong, and I think I'm right. And that took a lot. I mean, that was hard for me to do, because these were guys that I really have looked up to, but I really felt convicted in that, in what I was doing and the way I was doing it. And it worked out for me. But there's no secret to the playbook or the recipe these days. you document what you do that you're passionate about, that you think you're good enough at, and if you're good enough, you will win. It's really that simple. So as far as the marketing goes, there's nothing complicated to it these days. You just got to put it out there.
Cream does rise to the top. And I've had a lot of customers, you know, that have reached out to me, and they're like, "Hey, man, I wanna go on Trip with Billy, man. I've taken the information that he's provided over the years, and it helped me catch my personal best, and I'd like to book a trip with him because I'd like to beat that personal best." And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's I've had notes left on my truck. Do me a favor, run out to the truck for me, and on the dashboard, I want to share a note with you guys. A young man here, right there on the. It might not be up there anymore. I may have pulled it out. It's in the office. It's in the office on my desk. Hopefully he can find that note for us. I had a great note, but yeah, I've had people come up to me and tell me things like that and leave me notes thanking us for the help we've given them on the channel. It's so humbling, man. So humbling. Any tips on buying my first boat on a college student budget? I would really it would help if I knew what your budget was. Here's the thing. It needs to be a good hull and float. You need to have a motor get the motor checked out by a mechanic. Run all the pertinent checks. Get you a mechanic that you trust. If you're in our area, the mechanics at Nautical Mile Marine, Mr. Joe, the guy that runs the service department at Nautical Mile Marine, are as fine as any I've ever come across in the boat business. But get a mechanic you trust to check a used boat out if you're talking about that kind of deal. And all that matters is the boat floats and doesn't take on water, has a dependable motor, and find the best electronics you can. Having an older used boat that's been upgraded onto modern electronics is such a big deal. And you can buy a boat for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 that has really good electronics on it, and get a boat that'll be dependable and run pretty well. That you can do. That's it, brother. Thank you very much for bringing that. So that would be my advice on balling on a budget when it comes to buying a used boat. It's a tough deal to do, and just know that when you get into it, no matter how good and dependable the motor is, at some point, if you have it for very long, you're going to have to put more money into it. Them boats, it's electronic and mechanical equipment going in water every day. There's going to be some issues at times.
I'm a spitting image of that.
You've seen that movie, haven't you, brother?
Twice now. I'm on my second used boat.
What's the key to pulling a chatterbait through heavy grass? The number one key, I would say, is feeling the grass early. Rod position and feeling the grass early. So the rod needs to be in a position, lean back. Thank you, sir. The rod needs to be in a position where it's kind of like straight out to maybe slightly up. What that's going to do is when you go to pull that bait out of that grass, it's going to give you the proper leverage. It's going to give you more power as you snap. You're going to put immediate tension on that line, quick tension on that line, and get that bait popping out of that grass early. So the rod position is important. But the other big key is to not be lackadaisical, not be looking at the blue heron, not be looking at the bald eagle. Don't be looking at the bikini girls in the boat next to you. Be focused on your bait, okay? And if you feel that grass early and give it a little bit of a pop and a little bit of a reel, snap that reel handle around at the same time, so it's like reel and reel and reel. Like that, if you do that right there and you feel the grass early, those are the key elements to really getting that chatterbait to snap out of that grass the way it's supposed to.
And a lot of times that'll trigger a bite as well.
That is 100% where you get your biggest bites and where you get most of your bites in my experience.
That chatterbait changed the game, didn't it, dude?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Bustin' Outdoors says current time on the water. I was really good at the local derbies when I had time to stay on the water. I can still catch them, but not near like back then. Yeah. I mean, lakes change, conditions change, baits change. There's better techniques available today. Just like we just said, the chatterbait has kind of one up the spinnerbait. Back in the day, the spinnerbait was the deal,
But you're seeing people now bring that spinnerbait back into play.
Well, there's a place, but it's still day in, day out. The chatterbait's catching more fish than the spinnerbait is.
That's right.
Yeah, so things definitely change over time. Even just the conditions from day to day, the health of the grass or the clarity of water in one spot versus. So yeah, the more time on the water right now in the recent past, yeah, it's gonna make you better and better and better. Yeah, if you're gonna guide, you got to be ready to spend minimum 200, 250 days of water on the water. Really, if you really want to be the best at guiding, it needs to be close to 300, which is more than the tour guys do, by the way.
It's that what are you doing when nobody's looking mentality, for sure.
best spots to throw big perm anywhere I see fish grouped up offshore close to the bottom. If they're on the bottom or close to it offshore, it just the structure type changes throughout the year. But if I see grouped up fish on the bottom offshore, I like big perm. There's never a bad time to throw it if I'm seeing that.
Keep an eye on your line when you're throwing that thing.
What would you say are traits that bad guides have in your experience? Probably the number one, and I wouldn't even say bad guides, but maybe guys that just aren't as sharp as they used to be. Complacency is probably the number one issue. And it's a hard, like, I fall victim to it myself. When you get on the same body of water 250, 300 days a year, or mostly that body of water, you know, we all change up. You know, I don't care what guys say about going to different lakes. Everybody goes to different lakes a little bit. I probably do it more than anybody else other than maybe Ronnie. But we still spend the vast majority of our time on Lake Fork. Like, the vast majority of my fishing days are spent on Lake Fork still, even though I probably fish more lakes than other guys. But especially for the guys that primarily don't go to other lakes, you fish that same body of water. And this is one of the reasons I do go to other lakes. You fish that same body of water every single day, year in, year out, year after year after year. Man, when it becomes Memorial Day, all you can think of is I need to go to this point and this point and this ridge and this pond dam. That's where we caught them last year, 2 years ago on Memorial Day weekend. Not always the answer. And it's really difficult to not get tied up in what I call the Facebook memory disease. Your Facebook memories pop up and you see them and you go, oh yeah, man, last year at the end of June, we stroked them right there. And then you go there and it's a totally different year. The water temps are different. The winds, the conditions are different. And they're not there and you're like scratching your head, well, these fish are supposed to be here this time of year. Man, keeping your mind open and fishing the day is probably the biggest thing that I see guys make mistakes on. Guys that have been guiding for a long time especially, they just get complacent. They want to throw the same baits on the same spots they've been throwing for all these years and they've worked for them, and maybe this year they're not working. And they end up having some tough stretches because of that. Other than that, it's just customer service. Customer service is arguably the biggest issue. And it tends to be more popular with guys that have been doing it for a long time. They feel, especially like when customers, because sometimes customers don't want to listen to you. Customers will get in your boat and you're like, hey man, we need to do this, this, and this is how we're going to try and catch them today. And then customer will get in your boat and be like, well, hey man, I like throwing this better, or I like throwing that better. Have you thought about trying that spot over there? And it's like, bro, why'd you hire me? Like, why'd you hire me? And that's what you think in your head, but the guys that are the best understand how to talk to that person and explain. Like I said, you have to have a deep understanding of what's going on and why it's going on, and you need to be able to explain to that guy, hey, this is why we're doing this, and this is why we're not doing what you're saying. And you have to have the patience and the understanding to walk through that process time and time again, because a lot of customers get in your boat and ask you why you're not doing X, Y, and Z. And it's frustrating because they hired you, so they technically should be ready to listen to what you have to offer. They're paying for that information, you know, for that advice. So, I mean, you're the guide. You know what I mean? So, that can be frustrating. I see a lot of guys get frustrated with customers and maybe get borderline disrespectful to their customers. Heard stories about that. I haven't seen it, but I've heard those stories from customers when they get in my boat. By the way, whatever you talk about in your boat, every other guy on the lake's going to hear it, because
or Travis
when that customer goes in another guy's boat, he's going to tell you everything. He's going to tell that guy everything that happened. I guarantee you. I know a lot of stuff that's been said and done in other guys' boats that I'm going, man, that's not very good.
So-and-so said he can outfish you with a Snoopy riding a beetle spin.
Or just stuff like, you know,
right.
Just bad. I don't want to tell any stories and I don't want to name any names, but some really horrific customer service stories that I've heard from customers that have got in my boat. And I'm sure the other guys have probably heard some stuff about me too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like any other, like all you guys, y'all go to your job. You ever have a bad day? You ever have a day where maybe you don't do your job quite as good as you usually do, or you're not your best performance? We do too. Yeah, you know, we have days where, you know, something going on with our kids off the water, something going on money-wise, stress-wise, car broke down, whatever. Like, all that stuff happens to us too, and we're expected to show up every day at 6 a.m., fish for 9 hours, and do our best job and be happy and jovial. Man, it's just, that's not reality and that's not life. There's going to be days where we show up, especially in this game when we struggle on the water. Man, there's going to be days when that stress gets a little much and we may not always be the funnest guy to be in the boat with. It happens. Now, the best guys are the guys that can handle all that stuff and still have fun with their customers. Yep. And still make their customers want to come back and enjoy their trip. But that's probably especially with the guys that have been around a while. I see I just call it complacency. They just get kind of in the routine, don't keep their mind fresh. And like I said, that's one of the reasons I really enjoy fishing other lakes a lot. And I think it serves me it makes a good point. There's a good reason that I do it, and it's because it keeps my mind fresher.
Barrett.
I'm trying to find where we left off here. That was a great question, Big C, by the way.
Yes.
We're going to try to get to every one of these questions we can, guys. We're starting to get a lot of questions now. Is the best bite on fork exclusively offshore? I appreciate you sharing lake tips. Love to book a guided trip with you. Chris said you were booked. Yeah, man, I've been really fortunate. I do stay really, really booked up. So I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, well, unfortunately, but also fortunately at the same time, if you want to get a trip in my boat, you kind of have to call in advance. So we've got a lot of other guys that we work with that do a really good job for you guys when y'all book trips with them. But to get in my boat, you do have to call at least a couple months in advance, usually any time of the year. I think right now, we're somewhere, so we got some September dates, huh?
Yeah, we've got August 31st is the next available date. And
Is August 31st available?
Yeah, because it's a month.
That's right, we changed that up. Okay.
And then September 1st, and then we've got a few dates left in September, and then a couple Octobers.
So we've got August 31st and September 1st available, and then a couple other dates scattered throughout September, and then October we've only got, I think, two dates?
2 or 3 left, yeah.
In October, and then it'll be November. November's only got a couple days booked, so we still got plenty in November, but that's what I mean. I mean, to get a date, especially one, if you're like on a tight schedule, to get a date that works for you that I have open, you kind of have to get it out a couple months in advance. So. Which is awesome. Thank y'all so much, by the way. That's amazing. Is the best bite on fork exclusively offshore? No. You know, that's a tough question to answer when you get to this time of year. There's so many people fishing the lake that are fishing offshore that, yeah, is the bite better out there? Yeah, there's more fish offshore than there are shallow. Yes, 100%. There's also a lot more boats offshore than there is shallow. So, man, I really do a lot of both this time of year. And it's every year when I get to this time of year, I do a lot of both. It never changes. So, I would say for me, it's just 50-50. Because I can go up and take advantage of some unmolested fish, some fish that are being left alone, and pick off a higher percentage of those. And then I can go out, and if I graph enough, find the right school, we can line up on one spot and kind of whack them for a little while. Now, I will tell you one thing. If you're going to fish offshore this time of year, even if there's not pressure on them, be ready to hunt for a long time with nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Because what happens is when we get to the hottest time of year, the water temps get the hottest, those fish group up the tightest, which means the highest percentage of dead water in a lake is right now. This time of year, August, the hottest month, that's your highest percentage of dead water. By dead water, I mean there's no bass there. So you really have to graph a lot of spots, and you may graph some really good stuff and there's nothing there, and you're like, there's no fish offshore. No, there are. You just got to keep looking because they're not everywhere.
Put that side scan to work.
But when you find that spot that does have that group of fish on there, that group's going to be bigger, and on top of that, they're hungry because the water's hot. So their metabolism really picks up. So the misconception about this time of year is it's tough fishing. It is tough fishing. But it's not tough fishing, it's just tough to find them because they're so grouped. So when you do find them, though, you can, like, lean on them, Jack. Like, when you find them and they go to biting, oh, man, it's some of the best stuff. Like, you're liable to fish for 8 or 9 hours and possibly even 0. And then all of a sudden have 30 minutes to an hour, possibly an hour and a half if you're lucky, that, like, you've never seen that before in your life.
Catch them all.
Yeah. Like, that's how it happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember when I first started learning to fish offshore, that was the most frustrating thing I think I've ever done in the game of fishing. But once you kind of learn and figure out what can happen when you find them, it makes it a lot easier to idle around. And luckily, too, the lake's got as healthy a grass as it's had in years.
Cam is asking, can I explain about that again? You got to tell me what you're talking about, Cam. Can I explain what again? I'll be happy to. How do you fish extremely windy days? Well, fortunately, we live in the spot lock era.
You do. I don't. I get a cramp in my right leg.
So the spot lock really changed that. You know, basically when it got real windy, if you were going to fish any kind of a decent sized big lake like Fork or Palestine or Pines or any of them lakes like that, back in the day, you know, wasn't very many guys that would stay offshore. Mm-hmm. You know, the only thing, like my advice to you would be buoy markers.
Yeah, that's what I use them.
So you got it. So when you find a spot that you want to fish offshore, like our old way of spot locking was for me was buoy markers. I would map out a spot, mark waypoints, get my boat position where I could throw at that waypoint, and then I would just take a buoy marker and throw it 15, 20 feet beside the boat. Mm-hmm. And I just knew if I pulled my boat up to that spot and I made that same cast, I was hitting that spot. Now, every time I caught a fish, every time I had to retie, anything where I had to take my foot off the trolling motor, it would be a chore to get back to that buoy marker, and it was a waste of time and all that. You know, you finally get a school fired up, catch one, he's got a little bit deep, you got to get the pliers, and all of a sudden, it takes you 15, 20 minutes to get back on the spot and get lined up in that wind. And
what he's saying is modern problems require modern solutions. Spot lock.
Spot lock changes. So, you know, the difference is you obviously can't fish finesse stuff. To me, you know, especially when the bite's a little tough, a Carolina rig's your best friend in a big wind. Because a Carolina rig's a way that you can almost fish. It's kind of like a finesse presentation. It's got like that weightless plastic look behind that big weight, but yet you can still stay connected in that wind with that 1 ounce weight. Other than that, man, it's throwing big stuff. I like to throw moving baits. I like to throw swim baits on big jig heads. I like to throw big 20 plus foot diving crankbaits. I really want to try to throw winding baits in the big wind if I can.
Yeah, because you want to have as much, you want to be in tune with what's going on down there as much as you can.
Now, fishing shallow is a whole different ballgame because you can kind of, you know, we want wind, but we don't want too much wind.
But we want enough, but we don't want.
Yeah, on those days where it's like really, really blowing, you kind of have to play, okay, well, the wind's hitting this, but it's kind of hitting it around the corner. You know what I mean? So you got moving water, but it's not just rollers coming in there. Because if you get on the wrong stretch of shallow bank that's open to the whole main lake, you can't even fish it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So you just have to really think about the direction of the wind if you're fishing shallow when it's blowing super hard. And if you're wanting wind for how you're wanting to fish, like a chatterbait, I want wind. A swim bait, I want wind. Then I just have to kind of map out, okay, I'm going to get some wind in here, but it's not going to be full force, whole lake rolling into it type of deal. So you just have to kind of really, all the wind does, the wind just adds a whole other factor. When it blows real hard, it just adds another piece of the puzzle that you really have to plan out and consider. As far as fishing offshore in the wind, another deal is, yeah, we've got spot lock, so it's easy to get on spot, but always spot lock upwind of your, no matter what angle your slope is at, spot lock upwind of your target, and then go to the back deck and throw off the back, and you can throw with the wind. Makes it so easy. Like, it makes your life so easy to do that. So,
like Domingo Ayala says, at a time.
At a time. At a time. Chatterbait is more versatile than a spinnerbait, I agree. I don't know, they're both pretty versatile though.
I throw the spinnerbait a lot. I throw the chatterbait a lot too.
Boats getting in your way? I don't know. I don't know if that's a question or what's going on here. I did something. Big C says, I've been hiring guides 30 plus years. In my experience, from a customer service standpoint, the worst guides are those that want to be pros and don't really want to guide. They're just paying bills, biding their time. Yeah, that goes back to the loving it thing, right? So it's not something they're ultimately passionate about. It's not their end game. Now, that being said, I want to say this before we get any further on this topic. There's a lot of guys that go on to fish the tour that are great fishing guides, that are some of the best. There are guys that appreciate every customer and that are very passionate about it and are just happy to be out there because they love the game so much. There are guys that really, really like fishing, that look at tournament fishing as, you know, mistakenly, they believe it's a way to make some money and something they enjoy doing, and they feel like they're going to, you know, succeed in it and get rich doing it. All those guys end up finding out that's not how it is. Those are all the guys that maybe flash for a little bit because they got some talent, and then they go away. Like that's who those guys are.
A lot of factors on that.
Yeah, I don't want to throw it. You know, I always hate speaking in absolutes, and there are no absolutes in fishing, and there's no absolutes in fishing guides. And I'm not going to sit here and sign on that every guy that goes and fishes the tour is a dude. James Niggemar fished a long time on the Bassmaster Elite Series, still fishes the FLW Tour. He's headed up to La Crosse right now. Best of luck, James. He's from my hometown right here in Vane. He's a Lake Fork guy. James Niggemar is one of the finest men and finest fishing guides I've ever run across in my life. So it's not all of them, that's for sure. Was in Academy days ago and was surprised to see the lack of tackle. What is really causing the tackle shortage? Well, most, like 99.99999% of your fishing tackle, on some level, some part of it is manufactured overseas in a little part of the world they call Eastern Asia. I don't know if y'all have heard, but there's this thing that came over from Eastern Asia that's caused an issue with.
Can I say it? Can I say it?
Say whatever you want to say, brother.
China.
China,
China,
Japan,
Korea.
And with everything that's going on in the world this year, there's been a lot of limitations. A, on their production capabilities because they shut down.
A lot of mass production.
And then B, on getting product from there, it has to go through a different process. And I don't know all the details; it's above my pay grade. But I know, yes, expect to see every fishing tackle company within the next year have many, many out of stocks, many shortages.
Look, the best.
So if there's something that you're really like in love with fishing and it's available right now,
buy it. You
need to buy 2 years worth right now.
So,
chatterbaits. Those evergreen jackhammers.
Yeah.
There's no more coming for over a year once they run out. Once we run out in the States. That's what I've been told.
The best way I can explain it, go to any grocery store right now, same deal with fishing. There's just certain things that are.
Yeah. Well, there's so much stuff in our world that is produced over there.
Right, exactly.
The Iowa boys in the house, we appreciate it. Thanks for the tips on the win, man. Thanks for the question. Hoping John Boland makes it back soon. Had a fun trip with him in late May. He is a great young guy. He's either number 1 or number 2 at his age. The only person at his age that I'd put in the same category as him would be Eric Wright. He just turned 22 last week or week before. I can't remember. He's as good as any guy out there, man. He's really good at catching them. He's really good with customers. Really good at teaching things. He is a great, great young guy, and he will be back. He's running trips on his home lake of Broken Bow for the end of about. He loves that as much as anything. He'll roll into waterfowl season. He'll stay up there through that, and then by the time he gets through with waterfowl season, we'll kind of be going into pre-spawn, and he'll be back here. So, or at least that's the plan for right now. I saw somebody way earlier asked how to safely run into Pinson from the boat lane. If you go by the boat lane chip, it has a run that goes at least to the mouth of Pinson.
Yeah, you can almost.
Now there's a different run that I could try to tell you on here, but I don't want anybody running what I'm fixing to tell them.
Yeah, the run past the point. Yeah.
You've run that one that I do. That's not one. We're not selling that one. We're not advising anybody to do that. That's not really one you.
See, I had that run on my old boat, and I made it a couple times. And I remember the first time I made it, I called you, and I was like, "Dude, I made it! I made it."
Do you remember the first time you rode that with me?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was entertaining, was it not?
Yeah,
I've got a run that goes into Pinson. It might be my favorite run to take with customers because they always look at me when we sit down. They look at me like I'm insane.
Well, especially when you look over and go, "Hey, you're gonna want to hold on real quick."
Yeah. Oh, I key it up a little bit.
Yeah, I do.
I key it up a little bit. We'll be running down this kind of wide little lane that all the guide lanes have marked, and it's like, "Hey boys, y'all hold on for a minute."
Yeah.
And I turn into the trees and start zigzagging through trees.
Yeah. I mean, like I said,
it's not as bad as it looks, but it looks bad.
It's wider than it looks, but it does. I mean, you can definitely stick a flipping stick out there and slap a couple of them.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
You better have you a scooter. It takes handling.
Chris Barnett says, "Love the podcast, straightforward guys. Thanks for your service." Thank you. North Carolina here this time of year, we have a lot of wakeboarders and joyriders. Will that push fish deep or shallow? Well, in the areas where those wake boats are present, yeah, they're not going to be just up on the bank. I don't think. I think they're going to kind of push a little bit. I mean, if I had that situation, I would be doing my best to get away from it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd be trying to go back in a creek somewhere.
So that was a lot of the reason this last weekend
Tyler,
we fished Tyler.
right? That's a perfect
It's
example.
a perfect example. So
a lot of wake boats on Tyler, but you get back in the creeks and they don't exist.
Right. So kind of the way we went about it was, I mean, There were people riding jet skis at 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they get
Because
out
it's
there
Texas
and they get
and
after
it's
it.
like
Right.
95 at 8:30.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the pocket I picked, it had wind blowing in it, and it was going to be away from all that. And I said, that's what I want to do. That's what we did.
Man, this has worked out really well with the fan interaction, dude. Getting all the questions. Like, I know we haven't answered every question. I apologize for the ones we've missed. This is amazing. There's so many questions we're not going to get to because we're getting close to the end here.
I think this is, we want to talk about what y'all want to talk about. And
This makes it easier.
it makes it so
Makes
much.
it so much easier.
Yeah.
Have I ever fished right pabbin? I've never fished right pabbin. I'm trying to scan through and answer some easy questions. Madman Ziggy 89. This is great. He says, I used Fish Life, and there was 6 boats on a Fish Life spot, and he still got his PB of 7.8.
Come on.
That's awesome. In fact, you know what, guys? We are going to get ready to wrap it up, and I wanted to share this note with you because, Chris, you referred to something earlier, how people have, because for those that don't know, when you go to call to book a trip, we use so many different guides, and I'm usually so tied up with my 2 boys and producing content and running guide trips. Chris helps me on the trips that we book. So when you actually call or send an email to book a trip, Chris is the one that answers it, and he helps me with all the booking stuff. So you use that if people have reached out to you and told you thank you for the stuff we share on the content. Man, I know I couldn't get all the content out without you, so I appreciate you helping me do that. But this is a good example. I've had this note now for 2 or 3 months, and I've been meaning to reach out to this young man. Don't know how old he is exactly. From the way this note looks, I don't think he's an older fellow. I think he's a younger man. But he leaves me a note. He says, Mr. Lawson, which, by the way, it's Billy. And this young man's name is Jonathan. My name's Billy, not Mr. Lawson. I appreciate that, though. Thank you for creating the Fish Life app. I used it to catch my PB last month here on Athens. I was at Athens on this day. I really appreciate your YouTube channel and have learned a lot. Keep up the great work. I look forward to taking a guide trip with you on Fork sometime soon if you have openings. Thanks again, Jonathan. He leaves his phone number. So what we're going to do is, and I've been meaning to do this for a long time, and I'm about to be, like we said earlier, I'm going to be off for 3 weeks. So this won't happen over the next few weeks, Jonathan, but I'm going to contact you, and you're not going to book a guide trip with me. You're going to come out for a filming day. We're going to film an episode, and you're going to be my guest that day. I've been wanting to do this since I first saw your note, and man, my life gets crazy sometimes, and I apologize for taking so long to get back to you. But I do very much appreciate stuff like that. And at the end of the day, I put in, and Chris knows this, I put in an inordinate amount of work to keep these apps up to date, and create the app, and the content that we create, all the stuff that we do. Man, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, work hour-wise, that doesn't really get seen. And now at this point, I've actually gotten where I got a pretty good crew of guys like Chris that help me a lot. Zach helps me. My buddy Cody Brunei helps me. Man, I owe all those guys a lot. More than anything, though, I owe all of you guys a lot. And guys like Jonathan, this, for me, is what it's all about. He took the time. The fact that this young man took the time to write me a personal note and leave it on the dash of my truck. So he sees my truck in a parking lot. He goes back to his vehicle, finds a notepad, finds a pen, writes me a note, sticks it under my windshield wiper for me to find at the end of the day. I cannot explain how awesome that feels to me and how much I appreciate it. And I don't really know what to do other than just try to keep helping you guys catch fish any way I can. And I'm going to take this young man fishing. We're going to go out. We may not catch them very good, but it'll be like every other film day. We'll catch them when we want, and we'll show you at the end of the day how it goes down and try to tell you what we're thinking while we do it. But hopefully Jonathan can come out. Maybe we can learn something together, fishing with each other. That's always something I like about fishing with new people. Hell, I learn from customers a lot of times. So, Jonathan, I don't know if you're watching this or not, buddy, but I will be getting in contact with you over the next month or so. And once I take my little 3-week hiatus here, hang out with my kids for a few weeks, when we get back, me and you, we're going fishing, my man. Hey, and I appreciate all of you guys so much for joining us on the first ever live version of the podcast. I've got another video coming out for you guys hopefully tomorrow evening. It's going to be our last on-the-water video for the next 3 weeks. We're going to do a little bit of a year-end recap of our season this year. We're going to mix in with the fishing action that we went out and filmed last week. And then we'll do a Thursday night live stream for Top 5 Bass to get you guys ready for the weekend. And that'll be it. That'll be it for about 3 weeks. And then we'll see y'all in 3 weeks. And we'll be back. Once we get back 3 weeks, we'll be refreshed, ready to go. And we'll be ripping the content out is hopefully as good and often as ever before. Bobby Redford said he heard Van is playing Liberty ILO this year. Watch out. Boy, you better watch out. These Vandals don't play around. They a bunch of undersized farm kids, but they going to get after your butts now, I'm going to tell you. Coach Jared Moffitt, he coaches one way. And it is very, very old school. There's a spider in the building. Chris is losing his mind. We're live now. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. This guy's definitely afraid of spiders. He almost lost it. Coach Jared Moffitt, who coaches the Van Vandals over here, he coaches old school. They're gonna get after you. Liberty ILO is a heck of a program, though. I will be at that game for sure, whether it's home or away. I'll do everything in my power to get there. Hey, thank you guys so much, man. Appreciate y'all joining us tonight. First ever live. Hopefully we'll see y'all 3 weeks from now on Tuesday on the next live. Hopefully we'll see you Thursday for Top 5 Baits. Chris, do that thing you do.
I'm stealing this because 6 cents ain't got none.
How do we end this thing? Here we go. I think that's it.